All right, Staying Fat for Sarah Burns, Epilogue. Local teen adopted. Finds adoptive family within 24 hours of 18th birthday. The final chapter of a family tragedy was written yesterday at the county courthouse when Cynthia and Tom Lemry signed formal adoption papers, gaining custody of Sarah Burns less than 24 hours before her 18th birthday. Local readers will remember Ms. Burns as the youngster whose face and hands were purposely burned on a hot wood stove by her father 15 years ago. The incident came to light this past February after Virgil Burns assaulted another teenager, 18-year-old Eric Calhoun, with a hunting knife. Better late than never, said Cynthia Lemry, a local high school teacher and swimming coach. In a statement to the press, if someone had stepped up for this young lady a long time ago, years of heartache could have been avoided. She's a remarkable human being, and we're honored to have her in our family. I guess they're just in the nick of time to pay my college tuition, the new Sarah Lemry said, with a smile. Also attending the ceremony were Eric Calhoun, the victim of Virgil Burns' attack, Sandy Calhoun, the boy's mother and frequent columnist for this newspaper, Carver Middleton, who served time on an assault charge against Virgil Burns in a related incident, the Reverend John Ellerby, controversial Episcopalian minister whose support of female clergy and full homosexual rights has frequently focused a spotlight on him in his 15-year stay at St. Mark's, and his son, Steve Ellerby, who describes himself as a controversial Episcopalian preacher's kid. Sarah Lemry confirmed that following the burning 15 years ago, her father refused her opportunities for reconstructive surgery, saying her condition would teach her to be tough. She refused to comment on further torturous physical abuse allegations, for which, among other charges, Burns has been found guilty in Superior Court and sentenced to more than 20 years in the state penitentiary at Walla Walla. When asked if she would now seek the reconstructive surgery she was so long denied, Sarah Lemry again smiled and said, "I don't know. It'd be a shame to change just when I'm getting used to it." In moving remarks before signing the papers, Judge Kathleen O'Connor said, "In all my years as a commissioner and as a judge, I have seldom been prouder of my job or of the people here before me. I truly believe there is enough courage standing right here in this room to make our country great again." The ceremony was reportedly followed by a celebration with Sarah Lemry's family and friends. So there it is. I think I feel good about the way things turned out. The pizza was great. I didn't get back in the water this year. Had to go to regionals and stayed as team manager. That hacked months off because it meant the school had to pay my expenses without exacting a pound of flesh, or in my case, 10 pounds. Ellerby won the 100 fly, and Britain placed third in the 100 free. I like to think I could have placed in the top 6 in the 500, but I'll just dream on. I got a scholarship to swim at a small NAIA school over on the coast, so I've got another 4 years of cramming the barrel of my body into a tank suit and swimming, stepping onto the blocks to the chant of "Moby, Moby." When I visited the campus, the coach told me he'd have me down to sprinting weight after the first 4 weeks. I said, "Yes, sir. Better men have tried." And she was a woman. Ellerby's going to the U, so we'll be on the same side of the state and should be able to keep in touch, but I know our lives will go the way they go, and we'll end up friendly strangers. Sarah Burns will live with the Lemrys and go to the community college for at least a year until she decides what to do with her life. That means she'll be taken care of better than she could be anywhere else in the world. And she'll be here every time I come home. She's still fascinated by that group home she read about in Life, and that makes me feel good because it means she still has dreams. God, I love her. Carver was sentenced to 6 months on work release, which basically meant he spent nights and weekends in the county jail for a little while. He pleaded guilty to a lesser assault charge, and the judge gave him the full sentence allowed by the law, along with a severe tongue lashing about vigilante justice, then suspended most of that time due to the fact that too many lives had already been tragically affected, and he wasn't about to add to that. The judge got both heavy criticism and loud support in the press, but I think he couldn't have cared less. Carver's going to be on parole for a while, but that's no big deal. He's never even had a parking ticket. I told my mother I was sorry I ever called him Boo Radley, and from now on, I'd call him Dad, whether she has the guts to marry him or not. She just cried and said that was nice. If I told her cronies down at the paper what a Class A wimp she's getting to be, they'd take her off the sports page and put her on the food section. Jody and I had a good spring, and I think we'll have a great summer. She's going to school on this side of the state, so we'll just have to play things by ear. One of the toughest things in the book, in my mind, is to test a relationship by splitting up. But it's probably as good a test as there is, except for Lemry and her husband, and I don't know a lot about them. I don't have many models for how men and women are supposed to be together, and I figure I better take my time finding out for myself. One thing I do know, families can get pretty messed up while they're looking pretty good. Look at the Britons. If I'm ever going to have a family, I'd like to avoid that. It's a scary thing moving on. Part of me wishes life were more predictable, and part of me is excited that it's not. I think it's impossible to tell the good things from the bad things while they're happening. Once I thought being a fat kid was the worst thing that could possibly be. But if I hadn't been fat, I would never have known Sarah Burns. I mean, Sarah. And that would have been a true tragedy in my life. And what is a worse thing than living like she lived for all those years? Nothing I can think of. But someday, some kid in a group home somewhere in Kansas, chronicled in Life magazine more than 5 years ago, may be touched by her courage, and I guarantee that will change his or her life forever. So I'm out of here. My thing for this summer is leisure. Ellerby's coming by with Jody and Sarah in a few minutes, and we'll be headed for the lake in the cruiser with a few tons of junk food to sit out on Jody's houseboat and get into some major ingestion. I've got to bulk up, give my new swim coach something to work off me. Burns Epilogue Analysis. Well, we got a happy ending. But boy, did it come at a cost. This story takes its time to get here, and it tells us and shows us sort of the difficulties of life, the realistic difficulties, that things don't follow a simple path, an easy path, that a lot of times it's bumpy and rocky and difficult, and there's a struggle, and it's tough. And I think that's part of what makes this story so relatable. I mean, in our times, 2020, which is becoming a meme of itself, we are constantly being shown new crazy things, right? We have COVID-19, we've got race riots, we've got the Australia burning. We've got so many different things happening. And every time we think, wow, things couldn't get crazier, they do. And I think that's what makes this story resonate and feel like such a good story to hear, is that it shows us a couple of things. Number one, that there are people out there who can help and want to help. And two, we're tough enough to get through tough things. And if we look at this story, that's really the big story. Sarah Burns fought and stayed tough and endured and got through a horrible situation. She needed her friends to do it. She needed to learn to ask for help. And then she was able to get through it. And I think that story right there, the willingness to keep trying and the willingness to get help, I think, are the two things that you can take away from the story. As long as you're willing to keep trying, there are going to be people who want to help, and then you can get through just about anything. I hope you enjoyed the book. It's certainly one of my favorites. It's just to me, an inspirational story, and just kind of makes you feel like, you too can get through your tough times. Hope you enjoyed it.